Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 11 of Off the Bench, featuring myself, Javon Tavares, the distinguished Kevin Cornegay, and the always witty Sean Dustin. Today we have a very special guest for the first time in Off the Bench history. As many of you have heard, we wanted to establish the brand before we started extending olive branches for special guests. But today we do have our first guest. This individual should feel extremely honored to be the first guest. He has great sports takes, thus the reason why he's here. I'd like to introduce to you all Mr. Ronnie Robinson.
What's going on?
It's okay. I got it. I'll take care of all the problems.
I got you, Ronnie.
I got you.
So, Ronnie, if you can go ahead and just give us a brief description of your sports expertise and what makes you a top flight analyst. Obviously, there's a reason why you're here on Off the Bench with three of the best to do it out there. But give us a brief synopsis of your expertise.
The sports that I hold dear to my heart: football, basketball, boxing, mostly combat sports. I'm kind of into baseball, but man, I really into baseball till October, you know. But I got a little hockey in me too. Well, you know, we're gonna have a good time, and I'm pretty gonna make sure whenever I say something, it's gonna be you Google it and it'll match up.
Right. Yes, sir.
That's the important part.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've known Ronnie for a very long time. I believe 20 plus, and I can vouch for this guy's expertise when it comes, and particularly when it comes to the game of football. This guy knows his football and basketball as well. He's right there. So welcome to the show. We're honored that you accepted the invitation, man.
Absolutely. And want to give a shout out to Mr. Sean Dustin. He looks like a walking advertisement for Dr. Dre sponsored product. You know, he's got the Beats headphones on. He's got the Compton shirt with Easy E on. I see you working in the background over there, sir. Yes, I do.
Well, it's Easy E on there, but I'm straight out of Compton like a crazy mother. Huh? Little Ice Cube. Okay.
Fellas, we have an action-packed show today. We have a show where there's a couple topics that are it's gonna push the envelope, but that's our job. Our job is to bring these topics that pertain to the sports world and sports culture, and we're gonna bring it live and direct. So we might as well start off. First things first. Michael Vick. Earlier in the week, he decided to give Colin Kaepernick a couple choice words, some advice, if you would, to help Colin Kaepernick get back into the NFL. Needless to say, that advice wasn't received well by Colin Kaepernick and certain fans out there. So let's just dive straight in. We're going to start with you, Mr. Cornegay. What was your take on Michael Vick's advice for Colin Kaepernick? And do you think that he was being malicious with his statements, or do you think that he was honestly trying to help Colin Kaepernick and kind of had a hidden message in his words that maybe needed to be decoded but couldn't quite come out to say?
Yeah, well, as far as Michael Vick, first, I disagree with this opinion, but Michael Vick is very qualified to make that opinion. He knows about image rebranding. With that said, and look, Michael Vick wasn't coming from a place of being very malicious, but I think the one mistake that he made was going public with it. I think this is a conversation that you're going to want to have in private, man to man. But what I want to do, I want to leave the Michael Vick story to the side, and I really want to focus on Colin Kaepernick and the real reason he doesn't have a job in the NFL. Now, I'm going to raise my hand. I think I'm the only 49er fan amongst this panel. I think we have a Dallas Cowboy fan, a Las Vegas Raider fan in the house.
Ooh, too early.
And then we have a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So as the lone designated diehard 49er fan, I want to give you a little bit of history, okay? I've been there through the Joe Montana years, to the Steve Young years, to the Jeff Garcia years, to the Jim Drunkenmiller years, the Tim Rattay years, the Gio Carmazzi years, and then eventually to the Alex Smith, we picked him over Aaron Rodgers years, which leads to Colin Kaepernick taking over for Alex Smith. Kaepernick's not in the league because he can't play anymore. He doesn't have the ability to lead any of the 32 NFL teams to more than 4 or 5 wins. Now, if Kaepernick threw for 35 touchdowns last year, if he threw for 4,000 yards, he would have a job right now. His play, his lackluster play, has not given him the wiggle room to be able to buck the system. We know the NFL system, one of the top things on their agenda, obviously, is winning, making money, but patriotism. You don't mess with the NFL's flag. The NFL was built on patriotism. And if you're going to buck the system and you're going to kneel during the national anthem, you got to at least be able to produce. And I mean, you got to produce like a Russell Wilson. You got to produce like an Aaron Rodgers. Do you think if Tom Brady wanted to make a political statement and he decided this year that he's going to kneel for the national anthem, do you think that he would still have a job? Absolutely. If LeBron James in the NBA, if he wanted to make a political statement, and he has several times, Trayvon Martin hoodie sweatshirt, if he wanted to make a political statement, do you think he would be cut? Or do you think the Lakers are still going to try to sign him to a max deal the following year? Of course they are. Their play has allowed them the wiggle room to be able to make any political statement that they want. Because the NFL is about winning first, making money second, or making money first, winning second. After that, you're free to do what you want. If you want to go out and get a DUI and kill somebody, as long as you can sack the quarterback, I'm going to sign you. If you want to throw your girlfriend onto the bed of assault rifles and be convicted of that crime, as long as you can sack the quarterback, I'm going to sign you to my team. All right? Let's focus on Kaepernick's abilities as a quarterback. What was his number one attribute? His number one attribute was his legs. His ability to run a 4.5 or 4.6 40. His ability to run the read option, right? He was always a one-read quarterback, meaning he would take the shotgun snap, fake the read option, look for the defensive end, and then his eyes goes up to the free safety. He was never able to read a defense. He was never able to go through his progressions. He was able to escape the rush, escape the defensive end, and throw a ball 55, 60 yards downfield to a Michael Crabtree or an Anquan Bolden or a Vernon Davis for a touchdown. That's what he was able to do in his prime. Also, he had a head coach who was able to develop a package specifically for Colin Kaepernick. And it was based off of the read option. No one runs the read option anymore, guys. Russell Wilson doesn't run it anymore. RG3, he's dang near out of the league. He doesn't run the read option anymore. The game has went back to the traditional sense of being a pocket passer. And that was never Colin Kaepernick's strengths. Kaepernick is no better than a backup, a mid-level backup quarterback in this league. And until he accepts that reality, he's not going to get back into the league as a starter. Now, Kaepernick's never been the greatest leader in a locker room. Hear me out. Jim Tom Sula's first and only year as a head coach, Colin Kaepernick was his quarterback. Did you guys know?
Yeah, real quick. Ryan, could you turn down the TV or whatever that is in the background? It's picking up a little bit.
How's that?
Good.
Perfect.
Okay. So back to the point.
My bad, yeah.
No problem. Jim Harbaugh fired. Tom Sula takes over for Harbaugh. Okay. Trent Baalke and Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, they wanted to cut Kaepernick before the season even started. The reason why they wanted to cut him, they didn't think he was good enough. But Tom Sula was able to talk those guys into keeping him. So he starts the season. We all know they had an awful season with Tom Sula as the head man. But during that season, do you guys know what happened inside the locker room? The locker room was fractured. Why? Because in the preseason, Kaepernick gets into a fight with Aldon Smith, the defensive end who went over to your Oakland Raiders, Ronnie. I'm not going to get into why they got into a fight, but it was a legitimate reason.
His girlfriend. He was dating his girlfriend.
Okay. What kind of leadership is that?
That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Only because I know we might have some kids watching. He was dating his girlfriend.
What kind of leadership is that coming from your quarterback? You can't have your quarterback getting into a fight with a defensive end or an outside linebacker, and it fractured the entire locker room. Kaepernick isolated himself for the rest of that season. Okay? What else happened during that season? He suffers a shoulder injury. He needs shoulder surgery. His injury kicker kicks in from his contract, so now the Niners cannot cut him, even though they wanted to cut him. They must keep him on the roster because of the shoulder injury. So we fast forward to last offseason. He's not able to compete for the starting job. Blaine Gabbert wins the job by default because he can't practice because of a dead shoulder. All right? And then eventually he takes over the starting nod. But again, he didn't play well enough for him to be able to get the wiggle room to make whatever political protest he wants to make. You've got to show and prove on the field first before you can go out and buck the system. Lastly, Michael Vick. The mistake he made was not having this conversation one-on-one with Kaepernick. Because remember, Kaepernick just started this political stance less than 12 months ago. So mentally, Kaepernick's not in a space to where he can take constructive criticism from another individual. You're either with him or you're against him. I understand that. I used to be that way when I was younger. You're either all the way with me or you're all the way against me. There's nothing in between. As opposed to taking your opposing view and be like, hey, you're a fellow black man. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this. Not tweet Stockholm Syndrome, okay, on your Twitter feed, as opposed to reaching out to Mike Vick and having a conversation. He's not in that space right now. I love what Kaepernick is doing for our people. I understand that. I get that. But it does come with a price. And the price is, if you're going to do that and you still want to play football, you're going to have to produce. Okay? And you're going to have to put up big numbers, or the establishment is not going to let you back inside. That's all I got for you.
Sean, do you think there was any malicious intent behind Michael Vick attempting to give Colin Kaepernick some words of advice that could help him potentially get another job? Because the backlash, particularly from Black America, was so evident. Terms like coon were being used. Do you think that was fair to Michael Vick? And do you feel like there was malicious intent behind what Michael Vick was, the information he was giving to Colin Kaepernick?
Well, I don't think in any interview setting where Jason Whitlock is present that anybody can snatch the title of coon from him. He has a firm grasp on coonery. I'm going to show you a picture of Michael Vick. It's me against the world. This is a picture of Michael Vick right now, man. I don't think necessarily that his intent was malicious. I think he put it in his mouth. And I think he was relying on his own experiences and trying to rebrand himself and get reacclimated to the NFL after being ousted unceremoniously to dogfighting ring that he financially supported. He looked at, what are the things that got me back? It was mentor. It was Tony Dunn. It was my hairdo. I understand that people have agents, PR people say, hey, this is sales. Maybe having a more clean image will make you more public to the public. But I don't think he was able to articulate that. I think comparing apples and oranges, somebody, a convicted felon, versus somebody who merely took a stance of activism, I don't think people feel the black kid, especially, that Colin Kaepernick needs to be apologetic or feel like he's being treated as if he's doing anything wrong for utilizing of activism and nonviolent protest is patriotic. That it's part of the fiber of our country and something that both black and white people fought together for overseas, for freedoms that we enjoy here as Americans. One of them being able to non-violently protest. And I think that his leadership being questioned or his hair being in question, Michael Vick had cornrows when he received a contract in NFL history. He had a hairdo that was considered thuggish. It was not something that was commercially acceptable or something that they wanted to push NFL as a brand as far as hairstyle as a clean-cut professional. But he received the richest NFL contract in history to that point in history. That goes back to Kevin's point that it has more to do with this, that he's not in a position of leverage. When Allen Iverson was dressed in a certain way, acting way, coaches, NBA, and franchises in an office put up with it. You know why? He was an MVP. He was averaging points a game. He was the leading scorer in the league. As soon as he could no longer at that level, nobody was tolerant of any of Iverson's pushback, any of his stances, any of his off-the-field antics. His leash got short real quick. And I think really that it comes down to is Michael Vick, although his intent wasn't malicious, it was a of words. I think it was poor advice. There's guys that have there's guys that have shaved heads, guys that have all sorts of hairdos. That these guys, investment bankers. These guys are football players. Football players, a lot of times from different environments and an array of different backgrounds. And freedom of expression is something that, as long as you're on the sideline and you have your head off, it's not been a problem. These afros weren't a problem in the 70s. Afros weren't a problem when they came in the 90s. His hair isn't a problem. His stance he's taking is a problem now. And the stance is only a problem because he's not productive or he has a long leash.
Mr. Ronnie Robinson, I know you've been chomping at the bit to give us your initial take on Off the Bench. What is your take with Michael Vick's comments and how it's been perceived by Black America?
Well, I don't know what Michael Vick got his degree in when he went to college, if he did get his degree. But I think we have to look past the ideology that he was trying to say more than what he actually said. Sometimes people are so fickle that you changing your hairdo makes them think that you changed yourself. When he told Michael Vick to cut his hair, maybe he just wanted to say, look, give them a different look. If the afro scares them, give them the fade again. Maybe we have to quit reaching because these guys Michael Vick's not paid to fill up 10 minutes of space with dialogue. This was the first time we see him on the set doing something like this.
That's a good
He's
point.
getting his feelers out there. I don't need to
Take.
when I listen to Michael Vick, I'm not going to go thinking that he's trying to be so philosophical. And I think the people at Fox, the way they edited and turned that statement, they did what they wanted to do because they're trying to reach a demographic.
Mm.
And the demographic that they weren't trying to reach heard that, and they weren't trying to hear it. So that kind of put Michael Vick in the middle of all that. Now, to Kevin's point earlier, I think we have to separate young, brash Kaepernick from the Kaepernick that we see now because he's maturing as a man. And at the same way that we come into our physical prime, at some point we come into our mental prime. And I think he's turned over as a different person. But I'd like to say that his play is indicative to his situation. We're still looking at the league where Ray Rice was suspended forever after he was suspended for 4 games when there was no tape. Yet Josh Brown from the Giants, 20, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 20 instances of domestic violence, and they were fighting to keep him on the roster. And that's the same owner that had the audacity to step out and say, well, we couldn't take Colin Kaepernick because we received letters that people were upset because of what he was doing. So now one woman was upset about Josh Brown being a convicted domestic abuser multiple times and being on the roster. We got to start looking at the ownership of the NFL. We got to start looking at the ownership in general in all sports. Because that's the group that's not diverse. That's the group that's not trying to reach out to every single person. That's the group trying to hold down somebody. So for me personally, I don't really take what Michael Vick said. I wish he would have said it different. But then if he would have said it different, the conglomerates that he were with wouldn't have liked it. You know, because if you get too deep on one station, it's not going to be received well. If you're too light on one station, it won't be received well. I just think that Michael Vick is a guy, normal guy, said, hey, look, Cap, if you want to get a job, hey, try something different. Cut your hair off.
Right.
Now that's a great commentary, Ron. So as Kev and I had a discussion earlier in the week, that was one of the things that we discussed, and I think this notion of Michael Vick somehow being a coon, I think it was much to do about nothing. Michael Vick was simply, as you stated, trying to speak to Colin Kaepernick. Now, granted, the platform wasn't the right platform.
It was unfair.
Because if you make a public statement, now you subject yourself to the criticism and the backlash that comes with the statement that you make. But I think Michael Vick was simply trying to say, Colin, you already have, because your on-field production is not worthy in a standalone instance for you to be giving a starting job. You already have this perception of being unpatriotic and un-American because of the stance that you took. And by the way, I think it is absolutely wrong for people to make Colin Kaepernick a pariah for standing up for his beliefs.
Right.
This is the very same principles that this country was built on.
Right.
But I think Michael Vick was just trying to say, without saying too much like Colin, man, if you want a job, give them a different look, right? Because perception is everything to some of these folks. Give them a different look, make them think that you've achieved some level of contrition. Okay, give them a different look, and then you can still maneuver and do what you need to do for what you represent at your pace. So I think Mike Vick was attempting to do that without saying too much. But, Black America in particular, they overreacted. They called him coon. I know some people that, were diehard Michael Vick. You couldn't get them to stop using Michael Vick on Madden,
Oh, God,
15 years ago. They used Michael Vick every time they touched Madden. These are the same people that were calling him a coon and saying that, his hood pass had been revoked. And so, as Kev and I were talking about, Michael Vick, I think, has done more to represent the black experience, perhaps, than Colin Kaepernick has done up to this point.
Oh, there's no question about that. That's a fact.
Sean, I want to get your take before we move on. I want to get your take specifically as it pertains to the perception of Michael Vick now. Do you agree with those that would say that he's now cooning and that his hood pass or his blackness is somehow being compromised or diminished based on his commentary and direction to Colin Kaepernick?
Based on the memes and things that I've seen online, this is the sentiment, man. I'm seeing Samuel Jackson's head from Django put on his jersey, on his Eat jersey. Seeing people making him a white man and saying this is how we look at Michael Vick now. You know, it's real horrible that one misstep, and I think is the sensitivity of Black America right now. Type to any type of sensitivity to being ethnocentric or pro-black and having to feel apologetic about it. You know, for decades, for centuries, you know, it's progressively gotten more frustrating and more inflammatory to the point where, you know, cops were getting killed, you know, over this last year because of some of the police brutality, some of the unfair treatment. And I think, you know, when you go through decades, when you go through a Black Panther Party, when you go through all of these iterations, COINTELPRO and the uprooting and create the government and purposely creating dissension amongst pro-black groups and people being made to feel having to be apologetic for being ethnocentric, it's really reached an age, and people are tired of, especially when the black people being critical of black people having a active stance and being black or being tolerant injustice. Speaks to the populace. Look, people are being mistreated. People are tired of being stepped on. People are tired of being these stereotypes, even by the executive office. You know, by the head of the Donald Trump. And for a black, especially a black person who had made an example. I mean, you had Dante Stallworth drunk, killing somebody, hitting him back in the league in less than a year. Fighting dogs. I would think lower on the food chain than a person, especially someone driving drunk. God forbid the NFL do that because Budweiser's a sponsor. God forbid that they go after lies heavily because they're in bed with alcohol comes. So it's what? Also in bed with PETA. Some of these other things. So Michael Vick, it's not irreparable. I mean, he's being trite. He's being apologetic. He admits that it came out wrong and what he said had been received. So I don't know if he lost his hood pass forever, but at least temporarily, you hear the comments. He's over there with Mark Schlereth, of all felt was an undercover bigot for a long time. He's over there tuning with Mark Schlereth and Jason Whitlock, and you're over there sandwiched in between them. You look like you're being the one that's going to come out and say we really want to stay. Jason Whitlock's over there like, no, let me talk. He's real, you know. So I think he kind of got pushed into that as well. He was being encouraged, and Schlereth acting all surprised, like, wait, different than I thought. Do you mean that you're in aside from anything that his could be a problem? Let's perpetuate stereotypes some more. Can we spend 5 more minutes on this segment? Eric, shut up. Hold on. We're cooning right now.
And Javon,
go ahead, Kev.
And Javon, Ronnie brought up a great point about Michael Vick. He's not seasoned in this type of environment to be able to come onto a show, and particularly that show on FS1. You have a lot of seasoned veterans that have been in journalism for years, and they are able to lead him down a path that Michael Vick probably doesn't have the experience to be able to understand. Oh, wait a minute, I'm being led down this way. And again, we're not looking to Michael Vick for political commentary. We're looking for Michael Vick to analyze the game from a quarterback's perspective inside the lines, not necessarily outside the lines. Even though Mike Vick is qualified to tell us his story and how he was able to regain his job back into the NFL, his story matters, but I just think that we're not looking for him to deliver any type of political commentary, any type of social injustice commentary, as if it was LeBron James. LeBron is somebody we could go there with. But I think Michael Vick now...
I think Michael Vick...
Yeah.
I think Vick, even in his own profession, of reading defense and protecting the ball, to be held responsible for also making on point political commentary that something Colin Kaepernick is to receive and feels that he's being supportive of plight.
Good take.
Now, let me say this. Let me end with this.
I'd like to expand on your point real fast. The time of football where I was watching Leonard Little DUI crash, murdering somebody. I saw Mark Tremora get caught with his 16-year-old babysitter a year later. I mean, you name it, and we've seen it in the league, and guys get second chances.
Right.
And you're telling me Kaepernick taking a political stance is so heinous that we're not going to give him a chance and we're going to blackball him from playing? It speaks to the people who are in charge of the NFL. Who's in charge of the NFL, you might ask? Not Roger Goodell. It's the owners and the player association.
Leonard.
You're of both group players. If I'm a player, I might as well sit out next year. When it's time to strike in 2020, they might as well sit out the whole year. Because if this is what they're going to do, this is what's going on, you might as well get paid the most amount of money while you're doing it. Take a good year off, rest, do some yoga, go vegan, whatever you want to do, and be ready for 2021.
Here's what I think. Honestly, just go ahead.
I was gonna say we need